Melissa, the waitress is giving you this letter because I won't be able to meet for lunch today. I wanted to address the important issue you brought up on Tuesday night, so I've decided to write this letter. I hope you will take the time to read it. I know we need to talk about what you said, but meeting face-to-face won't help us right now. My feelings are still too intense, and what I want to say might upset you as well. You mentioned you would leave if I yelled or used harsh words. Since I can't yell in a letter, and there are no harsh words here, I hope we can communicate better this way. You insisted on taking a break from talking for the last 2 days so I could think and calm down. In hindsight, that was a smart idea because my anger got in the way of our discussion. I'm sorry for raising my voice and saying things I regret. But I believe many men would react strongly if their partner suddenly said they wanted to explore relationships outside of their marriage. I was shocked to hear you already have plans to start this tomorrow night. I thought this kind of situation only happened in stories, but I see now that it can be real. I want you to know that I understand what you're feeling. You believe having only 2 partners is not enough, and you want to fully understand your own desires. You mentioned our talks about starting a family made you think about this. You feel it's important to gain more experience while you still have the time and freedom to do so. You also expressed that my excitement about us having a baby made you feel pressured, and you see me as partly responsible for your choice. You have assured me that you will still be respectful and make sure to have enough time between being with others and being with me, so I won't notice any difference. You believe that exploring other relationships will make you happier, and that in turn will strengthen our own relationship. You feel that this won't break our vows since we set our own rules and didn't include forsaking all others. You say that being open with me about your plans means it is not cheating. I hope this letter brings some clarity to what I'm feeling. I'm ready to listen and understand your perspective when we can talk. Take care. You don't think it will hurt our relationship if I let go of my old ways of being overly protective, focus on your needs, and understand that this is a short-term phase for you. You have your own thoughts on this. You believe that men have controlled women for too long, and that has to change. You are an independent woman and have the right to make choices about your own body. Even though we are married, I don't own you or have control over you. You didn't share your plans with me at first because you didn't want to cause any pain, but now that you're ready to move forward, you felt it was important to talk to me. You wanted to be honest so I wouldn't feel betrayed. This decision is not just a whim. Over the past 6 months, you have talked a lot with your friends Karen and Bev, who fully support you. They believe that since I love you, I will understand your choice. Karen has been in an open relationship for a year, and Bev plans to start one next month. You see this as a small step, and then we can return to our normal life. There is no reason for me to feel jealous. I'm not being replaced. This is just a casual connection for you, and I will always be your main love. I shouldn't feel embarrassed either. Many couples choose to have relationships outside their marriage, and it is more common than most people realize. You hope that society can be more open about it so it won't be seen as wrong. You have made your decision and are set on this path. You spent months thinking it through and have even found someone you liked. You've met him a couple of times, and you have plans for dinner and a room at a nice hotel tomorrow night. You are excited about this new chapter in your life and our relationship. You don't plan to tell me his name or where you'll be eating or staying because you feel those are private details I don't need. You're not asking for my permission. You just wanted to keep me informed out of respect. You see yourself as an equal partner in our relationship, able to make your own choices. Before we go on, I want to acknowledge that you were right about needing some time apart. This break has helped me process my initial shock and anger, understand my feelings better, and sort out my thoughts. So how do I feel? First, I never thought that the number of people we have been with before mattered to our marriage. You have been a wonderful partner for me. You have completed my world and provided everything I needed, so your promise to improve our relationship through this idea means nothing to me. Over the years, I believed you were completely happy with me, and you have told me that many times. But now it seems you do not feel the same way, and that hurts me deeply. If you were content, you would not think about this, let alone act on it. Your changing body as a reason? Of course our bodies change. We are meant to grow old together. I believe any changes in the woman I love, whether from aging or from having our children, would be something to cherish, not to worry about. You say you are not being unfaithful because forsaking all others was not in our vows, and you are telling me in advance. I completely disagree. You will be unfaithful. We agreed to be exclusive well before we married, and we decided that this was a vital part of our relationship. Your choice to break that commitment doesn't create a new agreement. We need to agree to change our promises, and I want to be clear. I do not agree with what you plan to do, and I do not give you permission. Breaking a promise without mutual agreement is still wrong. If I tell someone I'm going to take something from you and then do it, it's still taking. I remember times when another woman showed too much interest in me, and you threatened to end our relationship if I even thought about being with them. How do your old views fit with your current ones? It seems a bit hypocritical, doesn't it? What does this say about how you view our relationship? You mentioned that being faithful isn't necessary for a loving marriage. You might be surprised, but I agree. Some couples can manage this in their own way. But here's the catch: you are not married to one of those couples. You are married to me. I want to be clear that I do not agree with cheating in a marriage. While you have the choice to be with anyone you want, I also have the right to decide whether to stay in this marriage. You might say my feelings come from an outdated idea of manhood, but many people, both men and women, feel the same way. Many women file for divorce over cheating, just like men do. You mentioned that it would be only casual, and that I would still be your top priority. But that's not true. I feel like I'm already not even in the top 3. You have put my feelings and beliefs below your own and below the 2 friends who are encouraging you, and even below the thoughts of someone new you've known for just a short while. If I were truly your number 1, you would have talked to me first. I would have been the first to know, not the last. But you know what? All of this is not as important anymore. It doesn't matter if you choose to be with someone else, or if you decide to stay with me after reading this. The damage to our marriage is already done, and even if you stay true to me now, it won't fix things. Successful marriages are built on key qualities: honesty, loyalty, and respect. Without these, marriages struggle. Let's look at these qualities together and see how you measure up. You have not been honest. You might say you never lied to me, but you have. You told me that your time out with friends was just for fun, but that wasn't the whole truth. You also said you were with friends when you actually were not. You have kept big feelings from me. You made plans and had many conversations while smiling at me and calling me sweet names, hiding what you really felt. You have not been loyal either. How could you plan something that you knew would hurt me so much? How could you put your wishes above my feelings and our marriage? How could you act this way? A marriage is important because both partners' feelings and beliefs should matter equally. But that hasn't happened between us. You have followed your friends and your new relationship. A man who shows little respect for others since he is with a married woman without considering her husband. You have been disrespectful to me and our marriage. You ignored my feelings and beliefs, only thinking about what you want. Not only did you not care about my feelings, but you also made sure I didn't have a say at all. I felt completely shut out. You have betrayed me. You knew your actions would hurt me deeply, but you still went ahead with your plans. You did this in a cold and calculated way over many months, before surprising me with it 2 nights ago. With every meeting to plan this and each phone call discussing it, you have betrayed me and our marriage again and again. Then, after this long betrayal, you surprised me and gave me just a short time to accept it before you were to be with another man. I can't trust you anymore, and I don't feel safe in this relationship. Even if you change your mind and ask for forgiveness, you have already shown me what you are willing to do. If you could act this way now, what's to stop you from doing something similar in the future? Would it happen when you start worrying about aging? When you reach milestones that make you feel different? Would you use our future children to get your way or threaten me? Even if you ended this situation now, knowing you can betray me makes me feel like my life with you is unstable. I would always be waiting for the next surprise. Now, I need to ask, what will you do about this? More importantly, what have I done? Please pay attention to this. Our talk on Tuesday was not just a conversation, but a clear statement of where our marriage stands moving forward. My voice often went unheard, and you would stop me when I tried to speak. But now it's my turn to share, and I hope you will listen. The answer is simple. I won't ask you to change anything. I won't beg or push you. You are right. You need to make your own choices. But remember, those choices come with consequences. I think back to our first date. It was just over 7 years ago, but it feels like yesterday. We enjoyed a lovely meal at Tartufo when it was a small restaurant. I wanted to impress you, so I treated us to a nice bottle of wine, and it was worth it. We talked for hours, sharing our life stories and dreams. And that's when we fell in love. You shared your wish to become a doctor, and I shared my dream of becoming a well-known chef. Soon after that dinner, you got into medical school. I promised to support you while you studied, and you promised to help me with my goals once you graduated. So, I put my culinary school plans on hold and became a line cook at Tartufo to support us. Now, you are a doctor. You've completed your training, and in just a week, you will start your new job. Congratulations. That took a lot of hard work, and I admire you for it, but let's not forget that both of us have worked hard. I have put my dreams aside for the past few years, working long hours as a line cook, which does not pay very much. Still, I managed to cover our living expenses and your education, and I'm proud of that. It hasn't all been bad, though. Supporting you has brought me joy because I love you deeply. The last 4 years have been tough, but I've gained valuable experience and respect from my colleagues, which is important in this field. Since Tartufo earned a Michelin star and Mario promoted me to sous chef, things have become more exciting and better financially. But now that I have completed my job of supporting your education, it's time for you, my dear wife, to keep your promise and help me pursue my dreams. You have said that women and men should be equal in a marriage, and I agree. But that also means men should support women too. That is what equality is all about. Since our conversation on Tuesday evening, I've talked to Mario. He has called in a favor and found me a job as a chef de cuisine with a well-known chef at a Michelin star restaurant. This job could count as work experience for a degree from a nearby culinary school. It is an opportunity I cannot miss, and I am leaving tomorrow evening. As for the city, the chef, and how long he'll be gone, well, since you have not shared any details about your plans, I will keep mine a secret too. Fair is fair, right? Now, about the costs. I have 3 ways to pay for everything. First, I didn't mention it before, but I've saved some money for a dream holiday for us. However, I've changed my mind about that. Second, I've borrowed against our house. Since it is only in my name, I took out a line of credit with the bank based on the value of the house. The market has been good these last few years, but I have to inform you that there isn't much equity left. My lawyer has everything ready if you want to take over the mortgage, but if you choose not to, the bank may take the house. You may need to find a new place to live while we figure out our relationship. I can handle having a bad credit score for a while if that happens. Lastly, I've sold some of our things. You've been staying with Karen since Tuesday to give me some space, so you might be surprised by what you find when you return. I've sold both cars, the TV and sound system, and some furniture like the bed and couch. Nothing that can't be replaced with your new salary. And if you think this is unfair, I have worked out how much I have contributed to your living and education costs and how much you owe me for my support over the years. I didn't just use simple dollar amounts in my calculations. Instead, I based it on the hours I worked to earn that money. I have been in a steady position as a line cook, and because of my support, your new job will offer you a significantly higher income than I've had. I believe you should contribute the same amount of effort I have, so the total amount reflects that. It's about fairness. You may not agree with me, but my lawyer says it's legally valid. And no, you cannot recover this money through a divorce. It is already spent. I've paid in advance for all my school, travel, and living expenses, and they cannot be refunded. These are still shared assets. In our talks, neither of us has hinted at wanting to separate or divorce. When we last spoke on Tuesday evening, you mentioned the new way things are going to be for the next few years, which shows you plan to continue our relationship. I want to make it clear again that I do not see this as a formal separation or a step towards divorce. I am just taking a job that requires me to work away from home for a while. Many couples face similar situations. To support my point, in the past 2 days, I shared my financial records with my lawyer. These show that I have been the only one working and paying for our living costs and your education for several years. I also included the kind Valentine's, birthday, and Christmas cards you've given me over the years. They express your gratitude for my support and your hope to help me too after your graduation. Like you, I believe this new phase of our relationship will be temporary, but I am unsure how long it will last or what will happen next. I want to stress that I am not abandoning you, nor am I cutting off communication. However, my phone and email accounts are closed for now, and I will be in a different area where I can't access them. You can reach me through my lawyer, who will pass along your messages. I hope to contribute to our shared expenses, but my new job may not allow me to provide as much support as I would like. I may need to ask for your assistance at times. You have told me that if people were more open about certain relationships, there would be more understanding. To help promote this, I wrote an email outlining the new arrangements you, Karen, and Bev are considering. I shared that Karen started this last year, your plan to begin soon, and Bev's plans for next month. I sent this email to Karen and Bev's husbands since they should be informed first. I also found Karen and Bev's daughters' email addresses and reached out to them, along with your family. I even reached out to Mr. Hunk. Richard Carter was the vice dean of my medical school and a mentor for the family medicine residents. It was easy to find the emails and messages I thought I had deleted. I forgot about the cloud backup. To be honest, I thought his wife should be informed. I also sent a message to the dean of the medical school and the university chancellor because they should know how closely he works with students and the extra effort he puts into those interactions. I believe there will be many discussions about this topic soon. In closing, I'm not saying goodbye, but rather until we meet again. I don't wish you luck in your new path. Instead, I hope you realize how harmful your actions have been, even without going all the way. I hope you take a good look at yourself. But this is your body and your life, and you must make your own choices. Just remember, the consequences are yours as well. If you go through with it, you might find some irony in the situation. Your meeting with Dr. Hunk is planned for tomorrow evening, and that is about the same time my flight leaves for my new job. So, while you are busy, I will be leaving. Ironic, isn't it? You said you would walk away if I used harsh words. Well, if you're reading this, you've made it to the end of my letter, and I have one last thing to say to you. Melissa, take care. I don't know how long I sat there staring at that letter. The words began to blur and then came into focus again. Am leaving tonight? Don't try to find me. The waitress kept giving me strange looks, probably wondering why I was sitting alone at a table for two, holding a piece of paper like it was a lifeline. I read it over and over, hoping I had missed something. Maybe it was a joke or an unspoken message that he didn't really mean it. But it was clear. It was final. I knew about Richard. I knew about the open marriage. I knew everything. How did he find out? I had been so careful, so discreet. Richard and I barely even touched just a few stolen kisses in the supply room. Nothing serious, nothing that should lead to this. My hands shook so much that I had difficulty getting my phone out of my purse. I tried calling Thomas, but his number was disconnected, just like he had mentioned in the letter. I checked our shared bank account on my phone. He had already removed his name and transferred his half to a new account. He really was gone. I quickly sent a message to Richard Dr. Carter, We need to talk. Now. The reply came quickly. Not a good idea. My wife knows. Just don't contact me anymore. I was overwhelmed. I paid for the drink I hadn't even touched, left cash on the table, and stumbled out of the restaurant into the parking lot. The afternoon sun was too bright, too harsh. I sat in my car for what felt like hours, just trying to breathe and think. Thomas had left me. More than that, he had made sure I understood he was leaving because of my actions. He had given me a letter that felt like a final goodbye. When I finally felt ready to drive, I went home. Our home. I needed to see if he had really taken everything. The driveway was empty except for my car. Inside, The house felt different, empty. I moved through each room like I was at a funeral, noticing what was missing. The TV from the living room was gone, as was the sound system. The dining table we had picked together was gone. In the bedroom, the bed was stripped. The mattress, too. His desk from the study was missing, along with his clothes from the closet and his toiletries from the bathroom. He had been thorough. He hadn't acted on impulse. He had thought this through and taken only what was his, leaving behind half of the furniture we had shared. I sank down onto the bare floor of what used to be our bedroom, my back against the wall, and that's when it really hit me. Thomas was gone. He had left me, and he had told everyone why. My phone started buzzing before I even realized I had turned it back on. Messages flooded in. From my mom. Your father and I need to speak with you immediately. From my sister. What happened? Everyone's talking about this. From my brother. Call me, now. From Karen. I can't believe you. From Bev. This is disappointing. I didn't want to read them. I didn't want to know who else knew about this, but I couldn't stop scrolling. Each message felt like a new wound. Then I heard a car pull up outside. Through the window, I saw my parents getting out, looking very serious. My stomach sank. This was going to be difficult. They didn't knock, but walked right in like they still owned the place. My mom was crying, and my dad looked upset. How could you do this, Melissa? My mom sobbed, her voice breaking. We raised you better than this. My dad just shook his head, lips thin with disappointment. I've never been so disappointed in my life, he said, his voice low and cold. Thomas is a good man, a decent man, and you let him go like he was nothing. I tried to explain, to defend myself, but the words wouldn't come. What could I say? They were right. I had made a huge mistake. My sister came over a few minutes later, really upset. You selfish person, she said sharply. Do you have any idea what you've done? Not just to Thomas, but to all of us? Mom and Dad have been proud of you two for years. Now we can't even look anyone in the eye. My brother was the last to arrive. He looked at me with a mix of sadness and disappointment that made me want to disappear. You need help, Mel, he said softly. Professional help. This kind of behavior. It's not right. After about an hour, they all left, having said everything they needed to. I didn't argue with them. How could I? They were right. Once they were gone, I curled up on the hard floor and cried until I ran out of tears. The full weight of what I had done hit me. I had lost everything: my marriage, my reputation, maybe even my family. For what? A few moments with Richard, a dream I had told myself I needed. Later that night, my phone buzzed with an email. It was from the hospital administration. I almost didn't want to look, but I opened it. Ms. Chen, we are placing you on immediate suspension due to an investigation into allegations of inappropriate conduct with hospital staff. This suspension is effective immediately. Please turn in your badge and credentials by tomorrow. Legal will contact you regarding next steps. I found out Richard had been suspended too. His wife had already filed for divorce according to some rumors floating around the hospital. I tried calling Karen and Bev, hoping to hear a friendly voice. Karen didn't answer, and when I called Bev, she picked up on the third ring. Bev, thank goodness. I need to talk to... Please don't contact me, she said quietly, and hung up. I called Karen again. Still no answer. I texted her. Please, I need my friends right now. Her reply came an hour later. You made your choice. We're making ours. That's when I understood. I wasn't just losing Thomas. I was losing everything. I looked through my social media and saw harsh comments and thinly veiled posts about homewreckers and people who ruin families. Someone had shared the news on the hospital staff page, and the comments were cruel. I recognized names of people I had worked with and thought were friends. I quickly deactivated all my accounts before I felt completely overwhelmed. But it was too late. Everyone knew. Everyone had something to say. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay on the hard floor of the empty bedroom, using an old sweatshirt for a pillow, staring at nothing. Every time I closed my eyes, I could see Thomas's face and the moment he must have found out the truth about Richard. He had been planning to leave for a while before he wrote that letter. Around 3 in the morning, I suddenly felt a strange pain in my stomach. I thought it was just stress. Life had been tough. I lost my job, my family didn't want to talk to me, and my marriage was falling apart. But as the sun started to rise, a chilling thought struck me. I was late. My period was late. I tried to remember how long it had been. 3 weeks? 4? With everything going on, I had lost count. No, this couldn't be happening. Not now, not with everything else going wrong. But as I lay there in the soft morning light, I knew. I was pregnant, and I didn't know whose child it was. The thought weighed heavily on me. Was it Thomas's? We had still been close even when things were difficult. Or was it Richard's? We had taken precautions, but nothing is foolproof. What had I done? I pushed myself up and stumbled to the bathroom, where I sat on the cold floor trying to calm the panic rising inside me. This was the worst thing that had happened so far. This was about a child, a life. I had no idea how to tell anyone or what to do next. As I sat there, feeling lost, I understood that this was just the beginning. Things were going to get much harder before they got better, and I had no one to blame but myself. The plane landed at Charles de Gaulle Airport on a cloudy Tuesday morning, and I felt a strange sense of relief, as if I could finally breathe again. I had spent the last 3 months in Paris, immersing myself in culinary school. It was all I had to keep me going. Every day, I got up before dawn, went to class, practiced until my hands hurt, and collapsed into bed tired. It helped me not think about Melissa and what I had left behind. But now, after nearly a year away, I was heading back. Not because I wanted to, but because I had no choice. It started with a letter from a lawyer. At first, I thought it was about the house or the divorce details. We had filed months ago, and I had been ignoring all the papers, just signing what my lawyer told me to. But when I finally opened it, with Sophie nearby looking worried, I realized it was something else. Melissa was pregnant and had been trying to reach me for months. She had reached out to my parents, who then told her about my lawyer. My lawyer had been trying to find me since January, 6 months ago. I wasn't checking my emails often, too busy with my new life, trying to forget my old one. But now I had to face it. It was impossible to ignore. "You have to go back," Sophie said right away when I told her. We were at our usual cafe near the culinary school, and she looked at me with a mix of understanding and sadness I knew well after the past year. "I don't have to do anything," I replied, but my voice lacked conviction. I knew she was right. "Thomas." She reached across the table and took my hand. "She's having your baby. Whatever happened before, this child didn't do anything wrong." I understood that. I had known it the moment I read the letter. But knowing and accepting were two different things. The flight back felt strange. I told myself I was only going to handle the details. I would figure out custody and child support, deal with the legal side of things. I wasn't going to reconcile. I wasn't going to fix anything. Those paths were closed. But somewhere deep down, I knew that wasn't entirely true. My parents picked me up from the airport. The drive home was quiet and tense. My mom kept looking at me in the rearview mirror like she was afraid I would disappear again. My dad just focused on the road. "Your mother has been helping with some of Melissa's medical bills," my dad finally said about 20 minutes into the drive. "She's in a tough spot, son, really tough." I didn't answer. I wasn't sure what to say. When we arrived at the house, I saw Melissa's car in the driveway. My stomach tightened. She was here. "We'll give you two some privacy," my mom said, though I could tell she wanted to stay and help. I sat in the car for a moment after my parents left, just looking at the front door. Then I got out and went inside. Melissa was in the kitchen making tea. She looked different, tired and worn. Her pregnancy was obvious now, her belly round beneath a loose blue sweater. Dark circles were under her eyes, and her hair was in a messy bun. She turned when she heard me, and for a moment, neither of us moved. Then she set down the kettle and stood there, waiting. "Hi," she said softly. "Hi." I replied, not knowing what else to say. Your lawyer said you'd be back today. I didn't know if you want to see me, so I almost didn't come. But I couldn't. She paused, one hand resting on her belly. You deserve to know her. To see her, at least. She's your daughter, too. Your daughter. Jesus Christ. It still didn't seem real. How far along are you? I asked, my voice stiff. 7 months, Melissa replied. We're due in about 2 months. I've been going to all the appointments. Everything's healthy, thank God. We was an interesting word to use. I didn't ask who we meant. Come here, I said, hating myself for it even as I spoke. Let me see. She hesitated, then came over slowly, as if she were scared I might run away. When she was close enough, I reached out and placed my hand on her belly. The baby kicked right away, as if she knew her father was touching her for the first time. The feeling was electric, unbelievable. This was real. This was happening. There she is, Melissa whispered. That's Emma. That's our daughter. Emma. They had already chosen a name. They had been planning this without me. I pulled my hand back, suddenly feeling trapped. We should talk, I said. Seriously, about what comes next. Melissa nodded, looking disappointed but not shocked. Okay, she said. That's good. We have a lot to figure out. We sat down at the kitchen table, the one Melissa had kept, the same one I'd taken with me to Paris and brought back when I realized it was silly to argue about furniture. She started to talk. She told me about losing her job and the tough times she faced. She explained how she had been cleared of any wrongdoing with Dr. Carter. Nothing serious had happened, just poor communications that had cost them both. She described how her career had suffered, even though she had done nothing wrong. She talked about therapy and trying to understand why she had been willing to risk everything. She worried about the postpartum depression, about her parents helping her with bills while she searched for work. She shared details about the pregnancy, the morning sickness, the worries about her health, and how scared she felt during some complications. She had come to terms with the fact that I might never forgive her, but she wanted me to be a father to Emma. I don't expect you to forgive me, she said, tears rolling down her face. I don't think we can go back to how things were. But Thomas, she's your daughter. Please don't take it out on her because of me. I listened, my feelings a tangled mess of anger, confusion, and maybe sadness. When she finished, I didn't know what to say. I need time, I finally said, to think, to figure out what I should do. Melissa nodded, wiping her eyes. Okay, that's fair. I have your number again. Your parents gave it to me. I can share details about appointments, ultrasounds, or anything else you want to know. We sat quietly for a moment. Then, without really meaning to, I asked, How have you been? Really? She seemed surprised by my question. Honestly? She let out a nervous laugh. I've been really struggling, scared, guilty, upset with myself, but I'm working on it. I go to therapy twice a week. I'm reading books about relationships and how to talk to people. I'm trying to get better, Thomas. I truly am. I nodded, unsure if I believed her, but hoping I could. I'm glad you're trying. As she was leaving, she stopped at the door. I know you probably want to go back to Paris, she said. Back to your life there. I'm not asking you to stay, but what if you stayed for a little while? Just until Emma is born? I think that would mean a lot. I didn't respond right away. I was meant to go back. Sophie was waiting for me. My job at the restaurant was still there, but looking at Melissa, the mother of my child, standing with tears in her eyes, I realized I couldn't just leave again. Yes, I said softly. You'll stay. That night, after she left, I sat in the empty living room and called Sophie. I told her everything about Emma, about Melissa's situation, about how I couldn't leave. I understand, Sophie said, her sadness clear. We both knew what this meant for us. Do what you need to do, Thomas. Be there for your daughter. I'm sorry, I said, and I really meant it. I know, she replied. So am I. As I hung up, I had a realization. I thought going to Paris would help me escape my problems. But problems don't just go away. They wait and grow. Eventually, you have to deal with them. Maybe facing them was the only way to really move forward. It had been 6 weeks since I requested the paternity test results. For 6 weeks, I acted like everything was okay while feeling anxious every day. Sophie was great, honestly. She noticed I was distracted but didn't press too hard. We spent more time together cooking and exploring Paris on weekends, but there was an unspoken tension between us. She sensed I wasn't fully present. Last night, while walking by the Seine, she stopped and looked at me. "Thomas, you need to tell me what's going on," she said earnestly. "I can tell something's bothering you." I almost revealed everything right then. About Melissa, about the baby, about the life I had left behind. But I couldn't do it. Not yet. Not until I was certain of the truth. "Just some things I left back in the States," I said vaguely. "Family issues." "There's nothing you need to worry about." She nodded, but I could see the sadness in her eyes. I hated hurting her, but I couldn't bring her into my troubles. Not until I figured things out for myself. Today, I finally got the email. My hands shook so much I could barely open the attachment. The paternity test results were here. The answer to the question that had been haunting me. I read it multiple times. The lab confirmed a 99.9% chance that I was the father of Melissa's child. Wow, the baby was mine. At least Melissa hadn't lied about that. I needed to sit down. My apartment felt way too small, and it felt like the walls were closing in on me. I was going to be a father. Me, Thomas. The guy who had just started his dream job in Paris, trying to escape a broken past. I was going to be a dad. I don't know how long I sat there, just staring at the results. It could have been 5 minutes, or maybe an hour. Time felt strange. Finally, I called my lawyer. "Did you get the results?" I asked. "I did," he replied. "The paternity test came back positive. You are the father, Thomas. I've informed Melissa about the results, too." I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. "What about custody? Can we discuss that?" "That's something we should talk about in detail," he said. "But first, you need to decide how you want to be involved in this child's life. Do you plan to support them financially? Be a part of their life?" That was the big question. What was I supposed to do? "I don't know," I admitted. "I need to think this over." After I hung up, I just sat there, staring into space. I thought about calling Melissa, hearing her voice, asking how she was, if she needed help. But the anger was still there. She had created this situation. Even though the baby was mine and I was going to be a father, I wasn't ready to forgive her. I wasn't sure I ever would be. I pulled up my emails and went through the messages from my lawyer. There were details about Melissa's job issues, how her reputation had been damaged, and that she was on bed rest due to high blood pressure during her pregnancy. Bed rest. That meant things were serious. There could be complications. Part of me wanted to think she deserved this struggle, that it was karma for her actions. But another part, the part I didn't want to admit, was really concerned about her, about my child. The next morning, I went to class as if nothing had changed. But everything had changed. Chef Leclerc could tell something was off. "Monsieur Thomas, your focus today is lacking," he said directly. "You are cutting like someone who has had a bit too much to drink. What's wrong?" I almost laughed. If only he knew the truth. "Sorry, Chef, just a lot on my mind." He nodded kindly. "Is it about women?" I shrugged, and he gave my shoulder a reassuring clap. "Love and cooking are similar. Both need passion and focus. You can't do either if your mind is elsewhere." If only I could easily turn my thoughts off. After class, Sophie caught me in the parking lot. "Okay, that's enough," she said firmly. "You're clearly going through something serious. I'm here if you want to talk." I looked at her, really looked. She was kind and lovely, and she deserved someone better than a guy who had personal issues and was about to be a father. "I appreciate that," I said. "But I think I need to sort my own problems out first. It's complicated." She watched me for a moment. "Is it someone back home? A girlfriend?" I hesitated. The word wife felt heavy. It's complicated. Yes, there is someone. Sophie nodded slowly, as if she was piecing it together. And she's expecting a child, isn't she? There was no point in denying it. Yeah, she is. And it's your child? Yes. She stepped back, crossing her arms. Well, that's quite a surprise, Thomas. Why didn't you just tell me this at the start? Because I didn't want to face it, I admitted. I came here to start fresh, to escape all that. But you can't really escape your own child, can you? Sophie was silent for a moment. Then she sighed. No, you can't. Look, I'm not going to pretend this doesn't change things. But I won't judge you for being human and complicated. We all have our messes. What are you saying? I asked. I'm saying, figure out what you need to do. Be honest with yourself and with her, maybe. And then we can see where we are. I nodded, feeling grateful and guilty. Thank you, Sophie, for understanding, for not making this harder. She smiled sadly. Just do right by your child, Thomas. That's what matters most. That night, I sat down and wrote an email to my lawyer. I told him I wanted to set up a paternity test that Melissa could take as well, just to be certain. I also asked him about Melissa's current situation, where she was living, what she was doing, and if she needed support for the baby. I mentioned I was willing to help with medical expenses and that I wanted to be part of the child's life. But I also needed time to figure out what that meant from Paris. It wasn't much, but it was a step forward, at least in some small way. As I clicked send on that email, I thought about my child. A little girl the ultrasound had shown. A daughter. I was going to have a daughter. The reality of it struck me again, and this time I didn't push it away. I faced it. I felt its weight. I realized that my life had just changed forever, no matter if I was in Paris or back home. I was going to be a father. I needed to figure out how to be there for my child, even if I couldn't be there for Melissa. Even if I wasn't sure I could ever forgive her. That would be the hardest part. It wasn't just about the practical steps or the distance. It was about how to co-parent with someone I'd loved and trusted who had hurt me deeply. I didn't have the answers yet, but at least I was starting to ask the right questions. The next morning, I got a response from my lawyer. He forwarded me an email from Melissa. She wanted to meet with me. She was willing to come to Paris to talk about the baby and our options. Options. Like there were different ways to handle having a child together. I stared at that email for a long time. Part of me wanted to ignore it and stay in my bubble where I was in Paris, chasing my dreams, and Melissa was back home facing the results of her choices. But the other part, the part that would be a father, knew I couldn't do that forever. Eventually, Melissa and I would have to sit down and figure this out. We needed to find a way to be parents to a child who deserved more than two unhappy people who couldn't make their relationship work. I replied to my lawyer, telling him to let Melissa know I would meet her in 3 weeks. That gave me time to think, to talk to Sophie, and to decide what I really wanted to say to the woman I had married and then left. 3 weeks. I could manage that. Or could I? The restaurant was fancier than I had expected. Really fancy. The kind of place where the waiters wore white gloves and even the napkins seemed expensive. I stood outside, staring through the window, trying to build up the courage to go in. I had been in Paris for 2 days now, and I was tired. The flight was tough, my back hurt the entire time, and I spent most of it dealing with nausea. I found a cheap hotel near the metro and spent yesterday exploring the city, calling culinary schools and asking about Thomas. This restaurant was my last hope. The receptionist at the school told me many of their students worked here. It was a long shot, but it was all I had. Through the window, I could see the kitchen. Several chefs were working efficiently, moving around with skill. My heart races as I look at the faces around me, searching for one I recognize. Then I spot him. Thomas. He's laughing at something a fellow chef said, looking so comfortable and happy. It hits me hard. He has moved on and started a new life here, and am about to interrupt it. For a moment I think about just turning around and leaving him to enjoy his fresh start. But then I feel the baby kick, reminding me why I am here. This isn't just about me or Thomas's happiness anymore. It's about our daughter. He needs to know she is here. I take a deep breath and push open the heavy glass door. The hostess looks me up and down, clearly judging my presence. Spoiler alert, I don't belong here. "Do you have a reservation?" she asks, her tone polite but very dismissive. "No, I need to speak to one of your chefs," I say, trying to keep my voice steady. "Thomas, it's urgent." She frowns, ready to send me away, but just then, I hear a familiar voice from the kitchen. "Melissa?" I turn and there he is, Thomas. He looks at me like he can't believe I'm here, his face losing its color. For a moment, we both just stand still. Then he says something to the other chef and comes around the counter toward me. "What are you doing here?" he asks, his voice low and tense, his eyes colder than I've ever seen. I need to talk to you," I say, feeling small and very aware of my pregnancy. "Can we go somewhere private?" He glances around the restaurant, clearly uneasy about the attention we might be drawing. The hostess tries not to watch, but I can feel her curiosity. "Outside," Thomas says sharply. "Now!" We step into the alley behind the restaurant. It's quiet, with recycling bins and old wooden crates all around. Not exactly a romantic spot. I take a moment to gather my thoughts, but Thomas interrupts. "You're pregnant?" he says plainly, looking at my belly. I nod and place a hand over it. "Yes. I'm about 20 weeks along now. Thomas, I needed you to know." His jaw tightens. "Is it mine?" The question hurts, but I get where it's coming from. "Yes," I say firmly. "It's yours, Thomas. It was always meant to be yours. Nothing ever happened with Richard, I promise." "Nothing happened?" he repeats, his voice sharp. "Melissa, you were planning to cheat on me. You were going to be with another man. That's what I can't handle." "I know," I say, tears welling up. "I know, and I'm sorry. I was foolish and selfish, and I didn't realize what I had until I lost it. Until I lost you." He runs his hand through his hair, showing his frustration. "Why are you here, Melissa? What do you want from me? To come back? To forgive you and pretend that this never happened?" "I don't know," I admit, my voice shaky. "I just knew I had to see you. I wanted to tell you about the baby in person. I needed to explain why I was willing to risk everything we had." He opens his mouth to respond, ready to blame me, when the kitchen door opens. A woman walks in, the one I saw Thomas laughing with earlier. She's very pretty, with dark hair and kind eyes. My stomach drops. "Thomas," she says, glancing between us with curiosity. "Is everything okay? Your break is almost over and we have a busy evening ahead." Thomas's expression tightens. "Sophie, this is Melissa, my wife." Sophie's eyes widen. The word wife hangs in the air like a big moment. I can see when she realizes Thomas hadn't mentioned he was married. To my surprise, she doesn't look angry. She looks sad, maybe disappointed, but not furious. "Oh," she says softly, and I can hear true regret in her voice. She looks at Thomas for a long moment, and it feels like they have a whole conversation without using words. Finally, she turns back to me. "Would you like to come inside?" she asks, her kind way making it all the more difficult. "I think we all need to talk, properly." Thomas looks like he wants to say no, but Sophie's gaze tells him he can't refuse. After a moment, he nods reluctantly. "Yeah, I suppose we do." We follow Sophie back into the restaurant, through the kitchen where I catch curious looks from the other chefs, and into a small private dining room. There's a table and some chairs with a painting of a vineyard on the wall. It feels very calm for what's about to happen. Sophie closes the door, and for a moment no one speaks. Then Thomas sinks into a chair as if he is exhausted. "So," Sophie says, her English accented but perfect, "I think there are many things that need to be discussed, yes?" I nod, wiping my eyes. "I'm sorry," I say. "I didn't mean to cause a scene. I didn't even know if I would find Thomas. I just had to try." Sophie looks at Thomas, You should listen to her, she says gently. Whatever happened before she came all this way, she is carrying your child. At least give her a chance to explain. I can see the struggle on Thomas's face. Part of him wants to kick me out and return to the life he has here. But there's another part that's not ready to let go. Okay, he finally says, his voice rough. Let's talk. So I do. I tell him everything. How I quickly realized I made a big error, how I tried to contact him after he left, and how I lost my job and had to start fresh. I share about the pregnancy, how I nearly lost the baby due to stress, and how I had to rest. I explain the therapy I've been doing and how I'm starting to understand why I took such big risks. I love you, Thomas, I finish, with tears rolling down my cheeks. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I might have ruined everything, but you have a daughter, and she deserves to know her father. I need to at least try to explain and apologize to you. The room falls quiet. Thomas looks down at the table, his hands tightly clenched. When he finally meets my gaze, his eyes are red. I don't know if I can trust you again, he says softly, and those words hit hard. I don't know if we can make this right, but I want to know my daughter. I want to be there for her. It's not the forgiveness I hoped for. It's not a promise that everything will be okay, but it's a start. It's more than I deserve. Sophie stands up to give us space. I think you both need some time to talk, she says. Thomas, take the rest of your shift off. Sort this out. She gives his shoulder a gentle squeeze as she walks by, and I notice some change in her expression. Maybe she is starting to accept what's happened. As she leaves, a wave of guilt washes over me. I've hurt many people with my actions: Sophie, Thomas, my family, and my friends. The list goes on. But as Thomas and I sit there in the quiet room, I allow myself a small bit of hope. We have a long way to go. There's a lot to fix. But maybe, just maybe, we can find our way forward. For the first time since I boarded that plane to Paris, I feel like that might be possible. I barely slept that night. My mind kept racing, thinking about everything Melissa had said and what I had seen in her eyes. The desperation, the regret, the love. Or maybe I was just imagining my desires. By morning, I made a choice. We needed answers. Real answers. Not just her word or my feeling. I had to know for sure that the baby was mine before I could think about any of this further. I called my lawyer first thing. I explained what I needed: a prenatal paternity test. He shared the details about how it worked and where in Paris I could have it done. It felt cold but necessary. Then I called Melissa at her hotel. We need to talk, I said when she picked up, and we need to take action. She paused for a moment. Okay, what? A paternity test. I need to know for sure, Melissa. I can't move on without knowing, I said. I could hear her take a deep breath on the other end. Okay, she replied softly. If that's what you need. When? Today. There's a clinic not far from where you are. I'll meet you there this afternoon. We ended the call without saying more. I felt bad for questioning her, but I knew it was important. Trust doesn't just come back quickly, even when you want it to. I went to work and told Chef Leclerc I needed the afternoon off. He looked at me like he understood something was wrong, but he didn't ask. Sophie stopped me in the kitchen before I could leave. You're going to do the test, she said, not really asking. I nodded. I have to know for sure. She was quiet for a moment, then put her hand on my shoulder. You still care about her. I can see it. I don't know what I'm feeling, I admitted. But she's having my child. I need to figure this out for the baby. Sophie nodded, understanding in her eyes. I know. And for what it's worth, I think you're doing the right thing. Go. Be with your family. The word family hit me hard. Yes, that's what this was. Whether I liked it or not, Melissa and I were going to be linked forever. The clinic felt clean and professional. Melissa was in the lobby when I got there, and I could see worry on her face. Her eyes were red and puffy. We checked in and filled out some forms in quiet tension. The nurse who came to get us was cheerful, and that made the situation feel both more real and strange. We'll take a blood sample from both of you, the nurse explained as she led us to a small room. The test is safe for the pregnancy. We'll check the baby's DNA in the mother's blood. Melissa reached for my hand as the nurse got ready. I almost pulled away, but I stayed. I let her hold on while they took her blood. When it was my turn, I watched the needle go in and felt a little pinch. The whole time, Melissa was looking at me like she was trying to remember every detail. It made me feel uneasy and sad and angry all at once. Results usually come back in 3 to 5 business days, the nurse said as we left. We'll call you with the results. Outside the clinic, we stood on the sidewalk, not quite meeting each other's eyes. I know you don't trust me, Melissa finally said. About nothing happening with Richard, I understand why you're unsure. It's not that I don't trust you, I replied carefully. I just need proof. I need to be sure before I can even think about what happens next. She nodded, looking hurt but understanding. I understand. I'm sorry, Thomas, for everything. I know, I replied, but felt bad for being cold. Let's eat. You need to rest, and I'm hungry. We went to a small cafe near the clinic. As we sat with coffee and pastries, I started asking questions that mattered. Not blaming her, just wanting to know more. What happened with Dr. Carter? I asked. How did it all come out? Melissa took a long sip of her coffee before answering. There were messages, texts between us. Nothing serious, but a bit flirtatious. When everything was discovered, the hospital found them. They suspended us both. Is he still married? I asked, feeling like I shouldn't care. She shook her head. His wife filed for divorce. Last I heard, he moved to a hospital in another state. I don't think he's happy about it either. Good, I said, but then felt petty saying it. I mean, I'm sorry he got hurt too, but it's good that you're not seeing him anymore. I'm not, she said firmly. I haven't heard from him since before I got here, and I don't want to. That whole situation was foolish, and I'm ashamed. We sat in silence for a while. Then, Melissa started crying again, quiet tears rolling down her cheeks. I lost everything, she said softly. My job, my friends, my reputation, my husband, and I deserve it. All of it. I wanted to tell her she was wrong, that she didn't deserve to lose everything, but I couldn't find the words. Part of me still felt she deserved it because she had hurt me, and no amount of tears or apologies could change that. What will you do? I asked. About the baby? About your life? She shrugged, looking lost. I don't know. I have an interview for a job at a clinic back home. It's not much, but it's something. I wanted to talk to you about what happens next. With the baby. And what if I don't want to be part of it? I asked, realizing my tone was harsher than I meant. She flinched. Then I guess I'll figure it out by myself. But Thomas, I'm hoping. I hope you'll want to be involved. This is your child too. I know, I said, running a hand through my hair. Believe me, I know. I don't know if I can do this. Being with you, I mean. Not after everything. I'm not asking you to, she said quickly. I'm not asking for your forgiveness or to take me back or anything like that. I just need you to be there for the baby, and maybe someday we can figure out how to be in each other's lives again. I nodded slowly. Okay, well, figure it out. After we get the test results, the next 3 days felt very long. I couldn't focus at work. Chef Leclerc finally pulled me aside. You are not yourself today, he said honestly. Just go spend time with your girlfriend? Wife, I corrected him. My wife, sort of. It's complicated. He chuckled, a quick laugh. Life is often complicated, Monsieur Thomas. Go, be with her. So I did. I spent time with Melissa. We talked, walked around Paris, and tried to figure out what our next steps were. Slowly, things began to change. Not forgiveness, but maybe understanding, even a bit of kindness. One evening, Sophie called. How are things? She asked. Complicated, I replied. We're waiting on test results. And if the baby is yours? Then I guess I go back home and try to be a father, figure out how to be a family or co-parents or something. "What about us?" she asked softly. I took a breath. "Sophie, you're amazing. But I can't start something with you when my life is such a mess. It wouldn't be right for you." She paused for a moment. "I understand. But Thomas, when you sort things out, if you're still around, I'd like to finish that kiss we started." I smiled, despite everything. "Yeah, me too." Finally, on the fourth day, the clinic called. "Can you come in to discuss the results?" the receptionist asked. My heart raced as Melissa and I sat in the doctor's office. She took my hand, and this time, I held on. The doctor opened her file. "Well," she said, looking over her glasses at us, "the test shows a 99.9% chance that Mr. Thomas is the biological father of the child." Relief washed over me, mixed with feelings I wasn't ready for. This was really happening. I was going to be a father. "Thank you," I said to the doctor. We stood up to leave, then I paused. "I believe you," I told Melissa, my voice a bit rough. "About Dr. Carter. About everything. I'm sorry I doubted you." She started crying again, but this time she hugged me. I let myself hug her back. "I'm sorry too," she whispered. "For everything." We stood there in that hallway for a long time, just holding each other. It wasn't forgiveness or making up, but it was something. A moment to breathe, knowing at least the biggest question was answered. Our baby was real. And whether we liked it or not, we would have to figure this out together. 2 weeks in Paris, and I was feeling overwhelmed. Not in a fun way. I was stuck in a hotel room, feeling really bored and alone, with just my thoughts and the baby moving inside me. Thomas came to visit every day, which was some comfort. We talked about the baby, plans, and what our future might look like. But there was this gap between us that I didn't know how to close. He was polite and sometimes nice, but we weren't the same as we used to be. I worried if we ever would be again. My doctor called yesterday and said I could fly home if I took care of myself. No more strict rest, but I had to be cautious. When I told Thomas I was thinking about heading back to the States, he didn't argue, which surprised me. He just nodded as if he had been expecting it. "We need to sort things out," he said. "Child support, visits, all of that." The word custody made me wince. It sounded so serious, as if our marriage was just a piece of paper instead of a life we built together. "Yeah," I replied quietly. "I guess we do." The night before my flight, Thomas came over and we actually had a real conversation, the first one since I got to Paris. "I've been thinking," he said as we sat in the small living area of the hotel, "about what I need to do, about what's best for the baby." I felt tense, not sure what to expect. "I can't stay in Paris," he continued. "Not right now. The baby is going to need both of us, and I can't raise a child from across the ocean." My heart raced. Was he saying what I thought he was? "I've already spoken to Chef Leclerc," Thomas said. "I'll finish the semester here, but then I'm coming back to the States. I'll get an apartment nearby and we can figure this out together, but apart. Does that make sense?" It didn't fully, but I got the idea. We would try to co-parent and be in each other's lives, but not as a couple, at least not yet. "Thank you," I said, meaning it. "I know that's a big decision." He shrugged. "It's my child, Melissa. I can't turn my back on this." After he left, I packed my bag and tried to sleep, but it was hard. I wanted to ask him to come with me, to fix our marriage, but I knew I couldn't do that after everything. The flight home was tough. I felt worn out, emotional, and uncomfortable. Each time the baby moved, I thought about Thomas and the life we had planned. I also thought about the life we might create, just in a different way. My parents picked me up at the airport. At first, they seemed cautious. But when my mom truly noticed me pregnant, alone, and trying to cope, her face softened. "Come here," she said, wrapping her arms around me. "Come home, dear." I cried on her shoulder all the way to the car. I've been back for a week now, staying with my parents. It's not perfect, but I don't have many choices right now. Our house is empty. I can't bring myself to go back there just yet. Too many memories, too much heartache. But I got the job at the clinic. Dr. Patel called me the day after I returned, offering me the job. I start next month, after I've had some time to rest and heal. It's not the fancy hospital job I had before, but it's a new beginning, a chance to rebuild my career, one patient at a time. I've also started therapy with a new therapist, Dr. Johnson. She's different from Dr. Rivera, more straightforward, less willing to go easy on me. In our first session, she looked me in the eye and said, "Melissa, you need to realize that your actions have consequences. Trust is not rebuilt overnight. It might take years if it happens at all." It was tough to hear, but I needed it. I've been taking it seriously. I've also tried to reach out to those I hurt. Karen and Bev still won't speak to me, but I've left messages. I've apologized to my siblings and my parents. Some of them are slowly coming around. My brother called me yesterday to check in. It's not forgiveness, but it's a start. As for Richard, Dr. Carter, I heard through the hospital that he and his wife are working on their relationship. His suspension was lifted after it was found that nothing physical ever happened between us, only inappropriate messages. He's back at the hospital but moved to a different department. We'll probably never talk again. And honestly, I'm okay with that. Thomas called me last night. It was the first time we spoke since I left Paris. We've mostly been texting about arrangements and the baby. "Hey," he said, and I could hear he was nervous. "How are you?" "I'm okay," I replied. "Tired, but okay. How about you?" "Same. I've been thinking. We should talk about custody and support." I agreed, and we decided to look into getting lawyers. It felt so cold and formal, but I understood it was necessary. We needed to protect ourselves and our child. "I want you to know something," Thomas said before we ended the call. "I'm not doing this to hurt you. I just need to take care of myself. You understand?" I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. "Yeah, I understand." After we hung up, I sat for a long time just reflecting, thinking about how we got here, about the choices I made and the results I'm now facing. I thought about the man I married who was ready to change his life for our child but couldn't forgive me. I gently placed my hand on my belly, feeling the baby move. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I'm really sorry for everything. I promise I will do better. I will be better. For you, for your dad, for everyone." That night, as I lay in bed, I remembered what Dr. Johnson had said in our last meeting. She asked me what I wanted from life now, not what I wanted to go back to, because some things can't be fixed, but what I wanted for my future. I thought for a long time. Finally, I said, "I want to be a good mother. I want to be a better person. I want to show Thomas that I can change and earn trust again. Maybe someday we can create something new, not what we had, but something better." Dr. Johnson nodded. "That's a good start," she said. "But remember, you must do this for yourself, for your child, for your own growth." I've been trying to remember that. Some days are easier than others. Today I received a text from Thomas. "I got a job as head chef at a restaurant back home," it read. "I'm taking it. I'll be back in 6 weeks after I finish here." 6 weeks. In 6 weeks, Thomas would be back in my life in a more lasting way. We would be co-parenting, learning to navigate this new situation together. It scared me and filled me with hope at the same time. I replied, "That's wonderful. Congratulations. I'm happy for you." He answered quickly, "Thanks. We will figure this out, Melissa. For Emma." Emma. We picked that name a few days ago. Thomas suggested it and said he liked it. When he told me, I felt something change inside me. Maybe, just maybe, there was still hope for us. Not to return to what we were, but to create something better. I put my hand on my belly again, feeling Emma kick. "Your dad's coming home, little one," I whispered. "We will try to figure this out. Together." It's not the perfect ending I imagined. There's no dramatic reunion or moment where everything falls back into place. Life doesn't happen that way. But there is hope in the space between anger and forgiveness. Two people who have struggled are willing to try to build something new for the child they have together. And for now, hope is enough. I don't know what the future will bring. Maybe Thomas and I will find our way back together. Maybe we will remain co-parents and nothing more. Or maybe we will surprise ourselves and create something completely different from what we had before. I know one important thing. I will spend my life trying to make this right. For Thomas, for Emma, and for myself. It's the least I can do. Perhaps it will be enough.